and welcome to The Table. I'm Rachel. Today I am joined by Shona.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
We've got Mary Ellen.
Hello.
And a very special welcome to Julie, who's joining us for our very first time on the show. Thanks for joining us, Julie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, can't wait to hear what you've got to say on a few of these things. The first thing we've got coming up today is something where I feel like we're always drawing battle lines. I put on my spaghetti bolognese sauce and prepare for war. We're talking about fussy eaters today. And I've had a couple. Have you guys had a couple? Shona, do you remember back to when your kids...
that old.
Well, do you remember back, though, when you had the toddlers, and was it fussy or was it just a peaceful calm
Oh,
place?
no. I had the fussy eaters. Mine was so bad that my eldest wouldn't even open his mouth for food, so I would squeeze his nose.
Did you?
Till he couldn't breathe. He'd open his mouth and I'd shove the spoon in.
Did you gag?
No, he was too scared to.
Oh, my goodness, I don't think I ever thought of trying that trick. You're smart. That's pretty clever.
Did that change? How long did that last for?
No, they're really good eaters. Oh, well, they are fussy, but that's because I'm a good cook, I think they're fussy. Yeah.
They're bright.
Do you know, when we were young, my dad gave my brother baked beans, and this is going back into the 60s, gave him baked beans, he wouldn't eat them, gave them to him for lunch,
Yes.
wouldn't eat them, gave them to him for dinner, wouldn't eat them, went the whole night, gave them to him for breakfast
Yes.
the next day, and then Dad finally decided he didn't like baked beans, and he still won't eat baked beans to this day.
Wow.
That's what they used to do back then, didn't they?
That's what I did with my kids too. When they got, be off the high chair, I'd say, it's that or nothing.
But nothing for a whole day?
Yeah, eat that. You're not
Wow.
getting anything else until you've finished that.
That's so interesting. I was chatting to my mum about this because I was never a fussy eater, so she never really had to worry. But my sister would only eat like cheese, bread, white bread, and like chocolate milk kind of thing. She was very fussy. And Mum said to me, I never made it a problem. Like, you have to pick your battles because with the food battle, you're always going to lose. Like, your kids, like, they're always going to be fussy. So she just waited until we kind of grew out of it, which is a different kind of an approach, I think.
But all that waste, all that food she wouldn't eat.
Yeah, well, she just ate white bread, I think, for a very long time. I'm surprised she didn't get constipated. Really, it's a miracle.
I see it a little bit differently, and I have to confess, I've had the fights and the battles. I sort of, didn't do that thing. But looking back, I regret how hard and how strict I've been with them because, and eating all their food, because I think, hang on, I should have noted, it was obvious in hindsight that this is their personalities coming out and they're just testing their boundaries and all that growth area. So I really sort of regret having all of those battles, and I wish I had been just that little bit more, OK, look, if you don't like it, let's just get through mealtime. It should be a happy time, shouldn't it?
I don't like tomato, and I really wanted my girls to grow up liking tomato. So I fed them tomato, made no issue about it, tried to not let them notice I ate tomato. Neither of my girls will eat tomatoes.
Right.
But what's the difference between making them eating it and hiding it? Because that's what we do as mums.
See,
we
I'm
hide the food.
No, I
like
never
a
went down that
soup or
road. I
something.
couldn't be bothered. I'm like, if you're not going to eat it, that's the vegetable, that's the whatever, eat it. I'm not going to hide it because I don't want you to come later.
So none of you were ever bothered with the, make a face out of the vegetables and
no.
hope you
Oh,
kids it or anything?
Didn't have time for
I
that.
did it a couple of times, but no. Tell me, how did you hide them? Did you say?
No.
No, you didn't hide them.
No,
Okay.
you ate it.
Yeah, right.
You didn't have a choice at my place.
Yes. Okay. Right. Did you hide them at all? No.
Too much.
Wow.
No. Too
So
hard.
do you think maybe
No.
because there is a myth out there that it could lead to eating disorders later on in life if you have a really uncomfortable mealtime battles with your kids?
And surely it leads to kind of other resentment issues if it's because it's 3 times a day you're fighting with your kid. That can't be good for everything else. I don't know, maybe it's...
Yeah, but that was the battle I chose. There were other
Yeah.
things that I went, who cares?
So why was that battle so important to you?
I think because I'd had eating disorders when I was younger. I wanted my children to taste food, understand food, has different textures, different feels, and that it's something that that was my battle. I'm not going to argue over food. You're going to eat it, and I'm not going to waste my time cooking 10 different meals for everybody.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
put
I
it
know.
out there, and if they didn't eat it, I would encourage them to eat it and then just keep putting it out there, putting it out there. Because I think I've read somewhere that you have to eat the same thing for so many
Yeah.
times before you get to like it.
Well, look,
Yeah.
it's such a period of growth for the kids, and the good news is they actually do grow out of it. So I think that there's hope for people who are going through that stage. I guess something that kids do grow out of or grow up to is trying to learn what they want to do when they grow up, and it's such I think it can be such a hard time.
Yeah, still waiting.
What do you mean, kids? Like,
Well, no. There's, you know, we ask kids, what do you want to do when you grow up? And then they get into upper primary school, upper high school, and then you're saying, what do you want to do? And we put all this pressure on them. There's an article in the Sydney Morning Herald by a lady, and she said that 18 years after she finished high school is when she finally worked out what she wanted to do. So she spent that whole 18 years, you know, going through uni, trying this course, trying that course, whatever. 18 years of that journey. How do we sort of help transition kids into that without too much pressure?
Yeah, too much.
the very fact that we're asking kids, what do you want to be when you grow up, is the problem. I mean, aren't we going to encourage them? You know, you are valued as you are. You have great characteristics and talents.
Here goes the millennial.
Hear me out. Like, I just feel that we are striving for this thing, and once we get it, then we'll, you know, have achieved something, and we'll have that worth. Sort of. At least that's sort of my.
Did you feel that pressure when you left high school?
Oh yes. Oh
yeah.
yes.
So did you know what you wanted to do?
I had no, and I still really don't have any idea. I'm studying law, but I'm kind of picking up other subjects as I go. I'm really just doing it to finish the degree, to figure out what I want to do, you know. But yeah, being especially like a high achiever in high school, it's the first question everyone asks. So how's your studies going? You know, what are you doing with yourself? Oh, I don't know.
You know, my daughter came to me the other day. She's finished a degree, done some post-grad study, working, but doesn't really know what she wants to do. And she goes, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, because some of her friends are really getting into their careers and things are rolling along. And she said, I don't know what to do with my life. And I just said, look, life is what you're doing while you're working out how to do life. So don't feel like you've got to have it all sorted out now, because whatever you think, as soon as you think you've got it sorted out, guess what? Something else will come.
Say that motto again. It was a good one.
I can remember it now. Life is what you're doing while you're working out how to do life.
Yeah. That is good. I think we do place a lot of pressure on kids, and this is something you know I do for a job all the time, and it's mostly pressure that can come from parents. And I think as parents we just, and I don't have kids in that age. I know you do, but I think just taking that pressure off, letting them experience life. I like what you said, Julie. There, it makes sense. So yeah.
And it's interesting for me because I started out in retail, and now 30 odd years later, I'm back in retail again. So it doesn't matter where you start. For me, with my boys, I've looked at them, and as they've gone through their journey, I've looked at their personalities and their passions and what they want to do, and I've guided them down that track. You know, my boys, as you know, are completely different. They're opposite ends of the spectrum, and so we've just guided them in their personalities. One's very good at study, so he'll go off to uni. The other one's not, so he's lying in bed having a great time.
Sounds good.
That's okay, and you should sort of take the pressure off yourself, Marianne, because McCrindle research says that in a lifetime, people change their careers about 3 to 5 times, and their jobs about 17 times. So, yeah, I know that seems to be the average, which is completely different from, I think, my parents and their parents' generation, where they went into that job and they stayed there for life. We don't sort of have that pressure, but do you think people are changing jobs too much?
Oh, look, I'm in every 2 or 3 years I change my job. I get bored. I need stimulation.
I think you've got to be okay with not knowing what's going to happen in 5 years and 10 years. And I think there's a lot of pressure on young people to know what their whole life is going to be like.
But I think that actually stems from what you were just saying, how our parents' generation sort of knew what they were going to do, and they did it their entire life, and they sort of put that same pressure on us. But I think it is actually changing. I think the culture is slowly changing to think, you know, again, with your 2 sons, you're treating them differently. They can do what they want to do. That's sort of more the attitude. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the motto here is just what you said, but also to take that pressure off. Well, coming up, please stick around. We are going to be chatting to our special guest, Karen James. She is an engineer. She's a single mum. She has done the whole work-life family balance thing. I cannot wait to talk to her. Marilyn, I know you're a big fan of hers, and she'll be taking a lead on that one for us. But first of all, we're going to have a look at Gia and Olive in the kitchen. They've got something not so tuna-ish.
We're going to make not tuna salad. Salad without the tuna. But instead of tuna, we're going to use chickpeas. This is 2 cans of cooked chickpeas, and you can just blend it in a food processor until it's a bit flaky, so it's got that consistency of tuna. And what makes it special is the sauce. And in the sauce, we're going to use cashews, just to make it thick. We're going to use lemon juice, apple cider vinegar. You'll find all the recipe ingredients, the amounts, on our website. Now, this is Dijon mustard I'm putting in there. And I might use a little bit of salt, give it a bit of a flavour, maybe a teaspoon. Some garlic, throw a garlic in there. And I'm going to use kelp flakes. This is going to give it a fishy flavour. You can get it at any health food shop. It just makes it. So some kelp flakes, and I'm just going to throw some basil leaves in there, just a few. And I think that's it, some water. And there we go. Now blend it until it's all mixed through and it's got a smooth, runny consistency. Okay, so it's runny but not too runny. It's smooth. So here is our chickpeas. Before I put the sauce in, throw in some celery, just chopped up celery, maybe 1 or 2 sticks of celery, and half a chopped red onion. And then we'll get the sauce in. Oh, that sauce looks great. Okay, and just mix it through. And once you serve it, I like to use fresh, like just washed up lettuce leaves on a plate, and I throw this on top of the lettuce leaves, and then people can make lettuce wraps with it. Or you can put it on a sandwich, whatever you like. So there we go, all done. So easy, so tasty. Notched tuna salad, delicious. Enjoy.
Today we are incredibly blessed to be joined by the wonderful Karen James. Now she's an author, she's a public speaker, she's turned $9 million businesses into $100 million businesses, she's a humanitarian, she's done amazing work here and overseas. But what is at the heart of what you do? What's your ethos? What's your purpose?
You know, I always wanted my daughters' lives to be better than my childhood, you know, and just that generational improvement. And so that was always like my foundation at the start. And I chose to be an engineer primarily so I could look after my mom as she got older financially. And then it kind of grew from that. And I think it's important that we're all contributing to building a better world. And that became very apparent to me on my ability to make things better for customers as I served them. And then it's just been kind of growing. And, you know, the stronger you get, the more you can give back. And so it's really come out of that. And, you know, I guess the foundation I have with my Christianity has given me the values that I need to be able to ensure that I'm actually doing that and balancing, you know, being a mother, being at work, earning a living, and making sure they're all finely tuned. And I do hesitate to use the word balance because I think it's all about the blend of all of that mixed together where one's not too heavily weighted and not compromising the other.
It's the blend that I find really challenging because I do run my own business, but I've got really young kids. And I'm like, hang on, one day I'm going to be accountable to those kids. I need to be there for them. You know, I'm a mum first and foremost, but I'm trying to find that balance or that blend. And how did you do it?
Yeah, I think part of it was about immersing everybody in everything else. Like I never had these distinct lives. There wasn't the mother life and the work life. My daughters were very heavily involved in everything I've always done.
So how do you immerse your children into what you do? Because we've all got children.
Yes.
Mary Ellen, but she will one day. So how do you immerse your children into what you do?
Yeah. You literally immerse them. It is literal. So if you're doing volunteer work, they're physically there. I mean, I've been a single mom for a long time, so it was almost like I had to immerse them, and now I know that that's actually a really good thing to do. So if you're doing volunteer work or you're doing work with women, you bring them along the journey. Or if you're working late, maybe you pick them up and bring them into the city and they're at work with you. And if, you know, I ran a managed services business for quite a while, which means you take calls after hours. And so I trained the girls, you know, this was before Bluetooth, to pick up the phone and go, hello, Karen James's phone. And, you know, they learned a grown-up voice at a very young age. And so they understood the work I was doing, and work understood the requirements I had at a family level. So
That's really great that your work understood that, because not all women have that.
We have a lot of young mums or just viewers in general who are trying to set up a small business. Now, you're a very well-acclaimed businesswoman. What would be a word of advice to people who are trying to balance, I don't know what the right word is, you know, family...
Blend them.
Blend
them. I think the first thing is to be your own woman, and that means not looking at all of the superpowers that be and trying to be something that is an image or a story, and to write your own story and not to be judged or criticized. And you know, when my girls were young, I think I was the only single mom in kindy, and I faced a lot of not niceness, and I just ignored it, and my mom was my rock. And so just to not let other people judge you, and to just know in your heart that what you're doing is right for your own family. Yeah.
You've written a book about finding your purpose, and you talk to businesses about that topic as well.
Yes.
What do you say to people in regards to finding their purpose? Because that can be a real challenge.
Yes, it is. And it can also, I think, overwhelm people. You know, you go, I don't know my purpose, and you get all... And I think some people are very blessed to find it straight away. I just saw Dr. Jane Goodall at Business Chicks breakfast, brought my daughters, amazing, right? And, you know, she started out as a little girl who liked worms, who hid in the hens, I don't know, box, watching eggs being laid, and her parents lost her and worried, and then studied to be a secretary so she could fund a trip to Africa. And then her work as a conservationist and an activist and, you know, an advocate of animals came from all of that. So her purpose came from her passion of animals. So I think understanding what you like and don't like is very important. And also trusting in, dare I say, the journey. You know, I think if, you know, I probably always knew from a very young age that I was a woman's woman and I loved helping women. And then I just kind of always was representing women wherever I was working. And so things I did for and with women came out of that passion. So a lot of, I think, your purpose can come from passion. But then also, you know, having that kind of foundational commitment to make a difference in the world more than you. I think if you don't have that in your heart, then your purpose is going to be a bit skewed to yourself, skewed to money. And I think purpose is about attaching meaning to it, you know, and I think the things we're witnessing in the world now are wrong purposes. They're purposes that aren't founded with good meaning to better the world. So I think, you know, having that in your heart, following your passion, and then, you know, seeing where it leads you, I think you'll find it.
What is your number one tip for wanting to start a new business, women wanting to start a new business? Because I know you face, as a woman, a lot of barriers, I'm sure, in that space.
I think that not feeling bad about asking for help.
Okay, wow.
I think asking for help is so important, and having a strong group, whether male or female, that are your people that are going to give you the hard, honest truth, and being able to really take advice, you know, and say, okay, I hear that, you know, and right now I'm getting ready to launch a podcast, which I thought was going to be really easy, you know, just speak into a mic. And, you know, I just had someone who is working with me give me feedback. She's like, KJ, you got to stop going down on that. And being able to go, okay. And I just said, do you want me to re-record? You know, and just being able to take advice is really important.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. You've been an absolute inspiration. I'm sure everyone at home has been, learnt a lot from what you've had to say. If you'd like to check out more about Karen's work, you can visit her website, karentjames.com. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. I'm about to upgrade it.
Oh, are you? Fantastic.
Yes.
And you've got a book as well. It's called On Purpose.
On Purpose.
That's available at Dimmicks, is that right?
Dimmicks and Wiley and Amazon and Audible.
Audible.
Listen to.
Fantastic.
You know, a lot of hours of this.
Life can get pretty hectic and busy, and we all need to take some time to rewind and recharge. So I'm going to show you how to make some very simple homemade bath bombs that will help you to find that time to relax and to recharge. We're going to be making 2 yummy smelling versions of this bath bomb. You're going to need some very standard dry ingredients. You'll need 1 cup of baking soda, half a cup of citric acid, and half a cup of Epsom salts. We're going to start off by mixing those 3 dry ingredients together. We're then going to separate them into 2 bowls so we can add our yummy flavours. Our first scented bath bomb we're going to make is our relaxing one. I'm going to be using some avocado essential oil, which is really moisturising for your skin. So I'm adding about 6 teaspoons into my dry ingredients. I'm now going to add about 15 to 20 drops of lavender essential oil and just a little bit less of the bergamot. You can add a little bit more depending on how strong you like your bath bombs to smell. Right, now we just need to mix that all together so it is a nice consistency that will ball up in your hands. And mine's not quite sticking together, so I'm going to add a little bit of water until it will stick nicely in my hands. You want to make sure you add the water slowly, otherwise it does fizz up like that. If you add too much at one time, you will get a bit of a mess to clean up. Okay, if you find that your mixture then does get a little bit too sloppy because you get a little heavy-handed with the water like I just did, we're just going to add in a little bit more baking soda until we get the right consistency. All right, that is making a really nice consistency now. It is all sticking together. We've got no crumbs and it's also not sticking to my hand, so that is perfect. For this bath bomb, to make it that little bit extra decadent, to make it look fancy if you want to give it away as a gift, I'm going to add some dried lavender buds to the bottom of my silicone moulds. Right, now we're just going to put spoonfuls of this into our moulds, making sure we press it down fairly firmly so there are no air bubbles. And there we have it, our very first bath bomb is made. Let's get on to our second one now. This next scented bath bomb is a very decadent chocolate bath bomb. So we're going to be adding a couple of heaped teaspoons of cocoa powder to our dry mixture to start off with. All right, we're going to give that a bit of a mix up first before we add our wet ingredients. For this bath bomb, we're going to be adding about 6 teaspoons of melted cocoa butter. You could also use a different oil if you don't have cocoa butter on hand. And we're also going to be adding for scent one of my favourite essential oils, which is Christmas Spirit, which has cloves and cinnamon and all those yummy spices that are perfect, especially for winter time. So I'm going to be adding about 15 to 20 drops of this one. And also added a bit of decadence, I'm going to be adding about 2 teaspoons of vanilla bean paste. You could use the seeds scraped straight from a vanilla bean pod, but this is just what I have on hand, so we're going to use this today. All right, now we're just going to give that a mix up like we did our last one. So maybe if your consistency isn't quite right, add a bit of baking soda if it is too moist, or add a little bit more oil or water if it is not sticking together. Right, these can be a little bit easier to mix with your hands, so don't be afraid to get in there and get your hands dirty. It is smelling amazing. All right, we have a nice consistency there. It is sticking together in my hands lovely and not crumbling apart. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into my silicone moulds now. All right, there we go. We are all done. We're going to let those sit for 4 to 8 hours or even a little bit longer until they solidify. Right, our bath bombs have had their time to harden up and dry out, and they are all ready to go. These make a beautiful gift for someone wrapped up in a bit of cellophane, or as a nice relaxing treat for you after one of those really long, hard work weeks. I hope you enjoyed this beautiful recipe for bath bombs. Let us know on our Facebook page at The Table TV Show. We'd love to hear from you if you have tried these and what you think about them. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Shona, were those chocolate bath bombs enough to entice you back into the bath?
Oh no, baby, I ain't sitting in no bar.
I think my kids would actually really enjoy one of those. I've not made them
want
before.
to eat the chocolate ones.
Yeah,
You probably could,
have vanilla in it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going from bath bombs to the bombshell of saying it's bedtime. Now, there's a lady on the Motherly website, Elizabeth Tentity, and she has written an article about how she's a relaxed mum. People wouldn't describe her as a strict person, except for when it comes to bedtime routine. Now, I have to confess, I really identify with her because I've just been really tight with bedtime with my kids, always. Well, not up until recently as they're starting to get older, but I've been really tight. I think it's made a difference. What's your experience been, Shona?
Why do you throw to me? I was
stuff to say.
I was really rigid with bedtimes. My kids, when they up until about school age, were going to bed at 5 o'clock and would sleep 12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so early.
I needed that time.
To you for achieving that.
So they would go to bed at 5. And then once they started school, they started increasing a little bit. Now it's hard to get one of them out of bed. But they're still quite early to bed kids. They sort of, go to bed late.
That must have allowed you a lot of time to yourself. If they went to bed at 5,
Yes.
and your sanity just must have been cruising.
Well, yeah. Took a long time to clean the house, though, remember. I've got 2 boys.
Yeah, right.
I love this story. I was the same. I had to have my kids in bed by 7:30. If they weren't in bed by 7:30, I think I became from mummy to a little bit monster because I just could feel my blood pressure rising. I had to get my kids in bed by 7. I'd tell myself, just chill, but I couldn't because to me, I just needed that time. And what I used to do with my kids to get them to bed, I would say to them, OK, 7 o'clock, you can go to bed and go to sleep, or you can go to bed and read a book. So that was how I got my kids into reading so much, because kids don't want to go to bed.
No.
So it was a way of getting them into bed at a good time. But trouble is, later on, that created a problem because they go to bed to read, but then they wouldn't go to sleep.
Oh,
They
really?
wanted to
That
keep
would make
reading.
them tired? That makes my girls tired when they read.
I'd have to go up and say, time to turn the light off, and they'd go, but it's the best bit. But,
Wow, they really do love reading.
they do love reading.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Mary Ellen, do you remember when your mum or dad said to you, like, OK, I'm not going to tell you when to go to bed?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I actually remember the day it happened.
Really?
I think I was in about year 2 or 3. I was about 8 or 9 years old. And I remember my mum saying, OK, she put the other 2 to bed and she said, if you want to stay up, that's okay. And at that moment, I realised my mum has been cheating me this whole time. She's been putting me to bed at like 7 o'clock so she could have her mum time. And it like all clicked in my head. I was like, that's pretty smart. You know?
Wow, that's pretty early though. Like I know I didn't do it that early. I think my kids were probably about year 7 or 8 when I
really?
went.
Wow.
No, now you can make the decision.
Yeah, no,
it wasn't year 2.
Yeah, no, I always had fairly, I'm not going to say lax, I think it was fairly strict in the beginning, but yeah, I remember being in year 7 or 8 and everyone else would go to bed at 6 and I'd go to bed at like 10, whatever. So,
I can't ever remember telling my kids you can decide when to go to bed. I don't remember when that change happened.
I don't do it now, but like my eldest is 8 and I really trust her. She'll put herself to sleep, but she takes a long time to go to sleep. So I put my kids to bed by 7. We've done all our stories and all that, bedtime routine. And I just say to her, look, you can read as long as you want. And at 8 o'clock I usually go in and most times she's asleep. Yeah. And my other 4-year-old is very independent and she's got a dollhouse up on there. And I leave her till about 7:30 and she's normally collapsed on top of that dollhouse. I'm like, isn't that uncomfortable? But I like that they can learn to put themselves to sleep. If they're in their room and happy,
My kids, once they got into high school, got their mobile phones, and I always had a routine. You could read, and then I would come up and say, time to put it away, you can go to sleep. High school, they would ring me from their rooms and say, Mum, can you come up and say good night?
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Phones in the room?
They didn't have data on their phones back in those days. It's all changed.
Well, we're going to have to finish it there. Good luck to all the mums and dads out there putting their kids to bed. Don't forget, if you've got any ideas on putting kids to bed, please let us know. Or the fussy eaters, how we spoke before. We'd love to hear you on Facebook. Thanks for joining us today. There is always room for you at the table. We will see you next time. Bye for now.